Brick. I know it's a brick. Okay, let's make some beads. So let's talk a little bit though about how to tell what kind of glass to use to make beads. So this is what I do every time I have a new kind of glass. I run a test, and this is particularly relevant for recycled glass, not as much for fusible art glass because it's always the same. So like here's a fusible, right? So these look fantastic. They all look fantastic because they're designed to all fuse together. So I don't run individual tests on fusible art glass colors because I know they're gonna always be okay. I have run tests on fusible art glass sizes though. So let's look at a test. So what I have here is a red vase that I bought at the thrift store and smashed up. It was a blown glass vase, you can see.
Oh yes.
Isn't that pretty? But red is a notoriously tricky color because it often changes color when you fuse it. It's red, but then when you fuse it, it strikes. And it is considered a striker glass. And it will turn a beautiful like pea soup green or brown that is reminiscent of your babysitting days with the baby next door. It's not a beautiful thing. So I always like to do a test with red just to make sure it's going to stay red. And then the same thing with some of the other colors. So this was a green vase. I use a lot of like teacups, the colored glass teacups or colored glass plates. We use these guys right here, these black glass bowls, which are not actually black, they're purple when you smash them up. But so what I do is to do a test piece, I start with a small bead mold. And the reason I use this one is each of these beads these spaces only use 1/4 teaspoon of frit. So I'm using 3/4 teaspoon. I have limited frit because that pink plate is only compatible with that pink plate. So I have a limited amount of frit. So I want to do a test with the smallest amount of frit that I can get away with. I always use a mandrel just because if it works, then I have beads. 2 results, 1 effort, right?
1 effort, multiple results.
1 effort, multiple results. So what we do we'll talk about tests first. So what I do is I start with a mandrel.
And by the way, a quick question,
Yes.
follow-up question from guest 986.
Okay.
So how do you call the sifters?
They are called...
Geology something you said?
Yes, they are, what did we call those? They're not called frit sifters, they are called...
Is it like mineral sifters?
Yes, try that, mineral sifters.
Mineral sifters.
And they come in different sizes. I did get the great big one, but you have to do it with a bucket, and if you're doing a teacup size bit of frit, by the time you get it out of the bottom of the bucket, it's just a big mess. So I like these, they're 5.5 inch mineral sifters.
I like that you can stack them.
Right?
Put it
How
all
fast
in
was
and
that?
get all your 3 different
Right?
sizes.
It was just like, boom.
Awesome.
Very cool. Okay, so we have our different sizes of frit here, right? And
So you put your mandrel in there.
put your mandrel in there, and we're gonna put, like there's the large one. See, that's 1/4 teaspoon. Medium.
So you always test for sizes?
Not always, but I always test for color and